like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given as a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Living Hope Agency call. It's always fun to kind of take it back to the basics. There's some new agents on here, and then some veteran agents that, of course, it's always great to, revisit those basics because, they talk about, becoming a master of the basics. That's really all that this is about. There's a couple different basics that we have in our business. It's getting good at buying leads. It's getting good at dialing the phone. It's getting good at explaining insurance to our clients and helping them pull the trigger. That's it. It's a very, very simple business. When I look at, Family First Life specifically as a company, I love selling insurance, and I've been in a lot of different opportunities where I've sold a lot of different things. I talk about how insurance is the most honorable profession on the planet. It's one of my favorite things that I've ever sold. It's something where when I get done helping a client, I never feel like, man, I really twisted her arm to get that product. I always feel like I'm helping people. So for me, when it comes to all the different industries that are out there, I've chosen to kind of plant my flag in the insurance space. And then when it comes to where I'm going to sell insurance, there's no better place than Family First Life, especially when it comes to selling life insurance with the highest comp, the training, the resources, the events, the tools, the technology, the list goes on and on and on and on. And, I think one of those basic things that really knowing all of that has built in me is just the belief that the ones who are here, the ones who learn this incredible skill set of selling insurance, how to buy leads, how to dial the phone, when you learn that and you master that, you can have belief that you're with a great company that's going to be here for the long run that can scale for you. And when you have a great belief, that really bleeds into every other aspect of this business. When we talk about, belief when it comes to selling, confidence in myself, if I have a lack of belief in any way, shape, or form, that's going to come across to the clients. That's going to come across to the agent that I'm trying to tell about the business. So belief is obviously a really big thing. And I believe that with what we have with, leads that are coming, technology, all these things, really this business is getting easier and easier to be able to recruit to. So I get excited about that because I really do believe as we launch some of these tools, it's going to help a lot of you refine your business, and it's going to help you continue to master the basics. So a couple of things I'll kind of touch on. I kind of just have some bullet points that I put down here tonight. We never really do the back to basics call the same. It's always a little bit different. But I think the thing that's really kind of coming to my mind because I've had to travel the last couple of weeks. I had to drive through a hurricane. I had family get sick. I got sick. Different family situations have come up, and I realized that I look at the leaderboard. I wish I had it today, but I didn't have it done for you guys. But even with all that stuff, and this is not to toot my own horn, I thought that I was going to have a horrible month, but somehow I was still somewhere near the top of the leaderboard. And I look back and I ask myself why. And the number one reason why is because on the days where I did have fully available, I really, truly protected my dial time. There was some stuff, of course, that was unexpected, but most of the stuff that came up for me in the last 30 days was stuff that I knew was coming. Trips that I knew was coming, family stuff that I knew had to happen, meetings. My wife and I signed up for the 16-week marriage intensive at our church, which is kind of crazy. So if you guys try to get a hold of me Wednesday nights from 6:30 to 8:30, it's not going to happen until after Christmas. But things that I knew were coming. And I look back and I'm like, okay, well, how did I still somehow help X amount of families? Well, it's because I protected the time that I did have, and I doubled and tripled up sometimes in the number of appointments that I had. So if I knew I couldn't have any appointments this day, I tried to spread out the number of appointments that I missed over the course of the days that I did have. So I think just a really important thing is to know that like everybody here is human. Like Josh is taking his girls, hopefully they're not listening, so I'm not trying to, ruin the surprise. He's taking his kids on the, on a surprise vacation. Okay. I won't say it in case they are listening, but he's prepared himself on the front end and on the back end for what that's going to look like. He's protected the time that he does have to sell insurance, and he's going to sell, or he's going to have X amount of extra appointments on the front end and X amount of extra appointments on the back end to make up for what he's going to miss in the middle. So when it comes to the basics, I think learning how to, I guess, just make up for that time when things do come up is a really important skill set to have. So that's number one. Number two, we preach it all day long. And, not always are we the best practicing of the preaching, but being involved in live dials. We have live dials. Some days we have 30 people on it. Some days we have 6 people on it. It varies every single day, depending on how people are feeling. Sometimes everybody's live dialing. Sometimes nobody's live dialing. But when I look back and I think about what live dials truly did for me, is it got me out of my comfort zone, and it helped me to fight for my objections and not to give up so easily. So anybody who's on here who's been dialing and you get an objection, you're by yourself, no one's around to hear that. When you're on live dials and you actually get out of your comfort zone, you unmute, you're like, oh man, maybe Drake's listening, maybe Josh is listening. Like, I don't want to just like put my tail between my legs. Like, I actually want to, try here. And the thing is, like, just that like mentality of like, I'm just going to try just this little bit harder to make this person hang up on me, rather than saying, okay, have a good day, I guess. Sometimes you actually end up overcoming the objection because you're not afraid to ask. So it's such a cool experience when you get on live dials, and not just, for me, live dials is simple. If you struggle with accountability, get on live dials and turn your camera on, because you're not just going to sit on camera all day and not work. That's just weird. People who are not working have their cameras off. Like, you're not just going to sit there with your camera on and not be working, number one. But number two is, if you take it a step further, excuse me, if you take it a step further and you actually participate and you actually say, hey, Josh, I noticed that you said this. What did you mean right there? Can you explain that to me? Hey guys, I had this come up. Can somebody, help me overcome, like, figure out what I should have done there? Like, it's a community. It's a virtual office. Any of you guys who try to get a hold of me when I'm like full on appointment mode on live dials, I typically don't answer. The best way you can get a hold of me, best way you can get a hold of top producers, just join live dials, because we're here like 6 days a week. So if I'm not answering my phone during the day, just log on to Living Hope live dials. I'm most likely in there. If you see me get no-showed on an appointment, hey, Jamie, what's up? Hey, I had a quick question. Hey, can we jump in a breakout room? I typically am not answering my phone because I'm protecting my dial time during the day, unless it's something serious. If you text me about it, we got something planned on the schedule. So live dials, like, what it did for me is it gave me my confidence on the phones. Like, you hear people and you're like, man, I wish I could be that confident. You can be that confident. Dial around other people. Don't do it alone. Treat it like a virtual office. Like, dial team becomes your family. It's like, these are the people you're grinding with. They're getting told no too. They're getting rejections too. They're getting no-showed as well. And they're also finding ways to be productive when they got their camera on, because everyone else is watching. And like, we're expecting everybody to find ways to be productive. So live dials is just such a great place if you fully plug in and you fully take advantage of it. So that's a couple of my first things. I think another big thing is, when someone's getting started, really just sense of urgency in general. How quickly do you want to learn this? How long do you want to be bad at this? I think that's kind of the questions that you have to ask yourself. Do you want to be bad at this for like 6 months? Because if you're bad at this for 6 months, like, you're probably going to quit, unless you're part-time and like you still got a full-time job and like all your bills are paid and you're like, okay. But at the same time, like, wouldn't you want to, like, I hate sucking at things. Like, I was talking to my marketing manager, Hannah. She was in here a little bit earlier today, and she was just like, yeah, you don't, or what did she say? We talked about how, if you get the right person into the business and they're not good at it, they get really mad because they can't figure it out right away. And the people who get really mad, they like go to work and they practice their scripts over and over and over and over again until like they don't feel like that vulnerable. Like, when I got in, I'm like, I know how to sell, but I didn't know how to sell insurance. So my first couple dials, I got my butt kicked because I was trying to sell the way I sold other things. So then I got really mad and I'm like, I don't want to feel that way again. So I'm going to go and I'm going to master these scripts and do them over and over and over again until people start saying yes to me, until it starts getting easier, until it starts to get fun. Other people are like, man, I'm really bad at this. I'll never get good at this. Like, sometimes you got to get a little pissed off. Like, you got to get a little bit pissed off that you're not doing well and ask yourself, okay, like, it's in my control. Like, whatever it is, like, people get pissed off and they go on a health journey. People get pissed off because they're broke and they decide that they're going to change their life financially. Like, what is that thing that's going to, kind of tick you off enough to take it seriously and have a sense of urgency and say, you know what? I'm not going to do 100 appointments this year. I'm going to do 100 appointments this month. Like what is that thing that's gonna, take you to that level? I'm not just gonna sit here and, get my butt kicked all day and do the same thing over and over again, hoping that maybe the leads get better. Like you have to actually make a change. Like if you're, they talk about how practice makes perfect. I don't believe that at all. Perfect practice makes perfect. Okay. So if I do the same thing over and over again the wrong way, I'm just ingraining doing the wrong thing over and over again. So again, it brings it back to live dials. You're doing the wrong thing over and over and over again. Nobody is able to give you any feedback to be able to help you get better. Like I remember I was doing $800-900 a day when I first got started to book my, 7-8 appointments, for the next 2 days. And the only reason that I got whatever appointment count that I got was because I was willing to do such a high level of dialing, willing to get told no so many times. And then I remember I get on live dials and Grady's like, dude, you got to dial live. And then like within like the first 5 dials, he's like, dude, stop right there. Let me help you fix this, this, and this. Like just make this little tweak. And like that little tweak, like changed the amount of people that hung up on me in the first 30 seconds. And then like I went from booking 7 appointments to booking 12 appointments. And I was like, okay, that's massive progress. And then booking 12 appointments, I started to get some confidence. And then I was like, okay, if I can get to 12, I can get to 13. If I can get to 13, I can get to 4. Hey, I can get to 12 appointments not on 800 dials. I can get to 12 appointments on 300 dials. Oh, maybe I can get to 18 appointments on 300 dials. And like you just start to develop that confidence. But I got some feedback from somebody that helped me make that tweak to get there. So for me, I just had this sense of urgency, not like, oh, I need to make money right now. It was like, I need to get good at this as quickly as possible, or I'm going to go crazy. Like, that's the thing. Like you see other people, like how long is it going to take you to see, Sean Simpson drop another, 4-family sale to go, I want to do that too. Like, how long is it going to take you to be like, man, I saw that, Drake, dropped 6 sales in the last 2 days. Like, I want to figure out how to do that. Like every single person who's doing that at some point in their career, they had like a crazy sense of urgency to learn it as quickly as possible. And then like, once you learn it and you have the skill set down, you can kind of taper off a little bit. Like you can go, okay, let me figure out what my flow is. How do I figure out what that balance looks like, the schedule? But like, until you figure it out, it's like, I don't really have a schedule when I'm first getting started. Because I'm like, I just have to figure this out. What does it look like? Okay, I guess I'm going to dial tonight until 9-10 p.m. to figure it out, because that's what it's going to take to get good. Everybody's different. I can't help you make a decision on what that looks like for you. But the honest truth is 80% of agents, and I might be making up this statistic, but it's probably true, it's probably higher, are going to quit in their first 60, 90, 120 days if they haven't gotten results. They are. They're going to quit. And then like you see other people that are getting the results, and like some people go, okay, oh, it's because XYZ. Like, why not you? I guess that's my big question. Why not you? And the number one reason that they're getting results quickly is because they had a sense of urgency to learn. You see people who maybe didn't figure it out for their first 6 months, and then something clicks. Ask any of those people if they had a sense of urgency when they first got started. They're going to tell you no. But then something changed, something clicked somewhere where they decided, okay, I'm just going to do 40 appointments this week. Like they made a decision somewhere in there to increase their activity to a level in which they started to learn faster. And if they started to learn faster, they're going to get results faster. I mean, that's just it. It took me 8 weeks to do my first 100 appointments. I remember I recruited a guy who did his first 100 appointments in 5 weeks. And it took, in my first month, I submitted 19 families and he submitted 53, because he went faster than I did to learn it, to get the repetitions. And of course, it made sure that he got the results a lot faster. So sense of urgency, big deal, because I think that a lot of agents just kind of sitting around like getting ready to get ready. Oh, I'm just watching videos. I mean, yeah, that's great. I want you to watch the videos. I'd rather you watch the videos than not watch the videos, because that also is a pet peeve of mine. Someone who has such a sense of urgency, like, did you watch boot camp? Well, I started boot camp and I saw that it was kind of long, so I just figured I'd learn more by doing. Yes, that's true, but you also need a frame of reference in which to learn and improve upon. And if you just jump in with absolutely no frame of reference, you're also going to make a crazy amount of mistakes, a lot of very avoidable mistakes that could have been avoided if you just plugged in and and watch the videos. If you did the boot camp, if you got started, I can't tell you how many times someone's like, hey, this, and this. And I'm like, did you watch this video in boot camp? No, I actually ended up skipping over that one because it was 35 minutes long. So I just figured I didn't need to watch it. The product video was an hour and a half long. So I just decided not to watch it. Okay. Well, like that question was answered in there. So go back and watch it and get back with me. So it's like, you've got the people who have no sense of urgency, who just get ready, and they need to know everything. And you got the people who go, I don't need to know anything except for just tell me who to call and I'll sell them something. And, you kind of need a balance in between those two. So preparation is good. Getting over prepared is not. We got the bare bones basics of what you need. 3-4 carriers, Americo, Mutual of Omaha, AIG, Prosperity. You got those 4. You can sell anybody just about anything, or you can get anybody approved for something. And then get to the boot camp, buy some leads, get started. What kind of leads? Whatever's available around you. Okay. And we can obviously do a lead strategy session, but you don't need the perfect batch of leads. You just need to get on the phone and get your butt kicked a little bit. And then we need to, practice your script, help you get better. If the idea is I'm trying to book appointments to go in the home, then we need to, book that first appointment in the home. If the idea is I'm gonna do one call close as quickly as possible, we need the first person to be able to go grab a pen so you can start the appointment and then continue to improve from there. Like that's what we need to do. Okay. So just sense of urgency, people getting ready to get ready. I kind of touched on it already, but lack of plugging into the system and just lack of communication early on, this whole lone wolf thing. You can do it. I know people who've become massively successful that have been lone wolves, but I ask a lot of them their story and they say, dude, I struggled for 9+ months trying to figure it out. I struggled for 9 months doing everything wrong, spending money, doing this, doing that. But like those lone wolf people, like they are a very rare breed that somehow survive past like the 80-90% of agents who quit. And then they figure it out. But like most people don't. Like we need that herd mentality of like, hey, everybody, be in the herd. It's safe in the herd. We'll help you get started. We'll help you get trained, plug into the system. All of these things are here for a reason. Between this call and the Thursday call where we do the role play and everything with Insurance 101, like you have an opportunity to plug in live dials to get better, to have your script heard, to have somebody coach you. The excuse of, well, I was on live dials one time and I unmuted and nobody gave me any feedback. Okay. Like I get it. That's also a part of life, part of business. People are working. Maybe nobody heard you. Okay. Not everybody's going to hear you every single time. However, that resource is still there. If it was me and we had some of these resources when I was brand new, if we had Insurance 101 when I was brand new, man, like I would have loved to have gotten on there and got a chance to role play, because I remember going into my first home, I had never done an in-home or any type of presentation top to bottom. So I went in there, I just kind of figured my way through it. I brought all my notes with me. A lot of you guys have heard that story before, but if I had an opportunity to do a top to bottom presentation with somebody before I had my first appointment, that would have been a really big deal because there wouldn't have been so much unknown. Like I just kind of messed my way through my entire first appointment and Grady's like, dude, you got this figured out. But if I would have had a chance to be able to do that, that would have been a really big deal. And we have that opportunity with the Insurance 101. So plugging into the system, going through the boot camp, getting on the calls, like actually like taking everything in, taking notes, and then applying it. All that stuff is there for a reason. And then if you are struggling, being afraid to call your manager for feedback, like finding a way. Like for me, I didn't wait for somebody else to be available. I also didn't ask permission. Like if you ask anybody, like as long as you're not calling to complain, blow my phone up. Like I'm happy to help you. People go, okay, so-and-so, my manager, whether it's me or it could be anybody in the company, they're too busy for me. No, nobody's too busy for you. We just like to stay busy. We like to fill our schedule with appointments. Like if my schedule's not full the day before, that's a problem. That's a problem. And I got anxiety about it. And I'm waking up and coming to the office like, crap, I got a bunch of white space in my calendar. Like, let's get on the schedule. Let's get together. Let's get that strategy session on the books. Let's jump into live dials and say, hey, when you have a minute, when you get no-showed, can we jump into a breakout room? Like, going out of your way to be like, hey, look at me. I'm ready to learn. I'm ready to go. Because at the end of the day, like, we're all independent contractors here. And, of course, we'll check in with you, but it's up to you to raise your hand saying, I want to get better. It's 100% up to you, because there's a lot of people who are here, and we're looking for the people who are raising their hand saying that they want to get better. So don't be afraid to call. Don't be afraid to ask for feedback. Don't be afraid to demand feedback. If you're serious about this business, you go, I want to get better. Like, don't just say, don't just complain about, nobody's reaching out to me. Like, it's up to you to plug in. We reach out to the people who are plugged in. I think that's important. We can't help anybody be successful. All we can do is plug them in and give them the tools, and then hope that they stay plugged in. And if they stay plugged in, if you stay plugged in, we're all plugged into the same area. We're all in the same spots. Like, come work next to us. That's one of the easiest ways to get all the feedback and to be able to be on the radar to get the best feedback. Because a lot of agents, they just try to figure it out themselves. They try to self-diagnose why they're not finding success. And sometimes it takes somebody else who's been in the business for a long time to look at you from a third-party perspective, to zoom out and give you that perspective that maybe you can't see. You go, oh, well, I'm doing everything right. Well, if you're doing everything right, then, you'd be helping more families. So to be able to zoom out and have somebody else look at you and diagnose what you have going on, don't be the WebMD agent that tries to self-diagnose yourself of what's going on. Like, just go to the doctor, and tell them your symptoms, and then they'll tell you, a prescription on how to get better. So that's kind of my philosophy there. Last couple of things that I will, touch on, and we'll kind of keep it short tonight. Inconsistent lead buying when you're brand new. I talk to agents all the time. When they are, you talk to any top producer, there's not a single week ever where they're not buying leads. They're buying leads every single week. When you see a top producer every week, I couldn't tell you any top producer, any Hall of Fame producer that said to me, the last time I bought leads was 3 weeks ago. I've been working the same batch for the last month. There's not a single top producer in the whole company where that is the story that they're going to tell you. So you need new leads in your business. That's the lifeblood of everything. I mean, they could be old leads, but you need new leads to you. You need more names and numbers, because at the end of the day, if you beat up a list over and over and over again, this is the law of diminishing return. Every single time that you beat it up, you're going to get less and less and less out of it. So I've got a batch of 100 leads. Doesn't matter if they're brand new or if they're 3 years old or 3 months old. It doesn't matter. Law of diminishing return says if I go through it, 85 of them don't answer or hang up on me or say no, but 15 of them book appointments. I don't have those 15 appointments. Now I go through those 85. Do you think I'm going to get another 15 appointments out of that? Maybe not on the next dial. That maybe I could squeeze another 15. Maybe I'm the best dialer in the world and I go through that 85 and I somehow book another 15 appointments out of it. And now there's 70 left. I'm not going to keep booking 15 appointments. It's just not going to happen. And it's not even going to be close, because the next time you dial through, it's not going to be 15 appointments. Most likely it's probably going to be 5 or 6. Then the third time you dial through it, you might get another 3 or 4. And it's just going to get less and less and less and less, because the people who aren't going to answer, at some point you have to realize probably aren't going to answer. And until you throw them into some sort of a text campaign to maybe drag a few more out. But again, like, you're not going to drag another 15 of them out of there. You're going to just squeeze a few more drops. So at the end of the day, you have to go, okay, a new batch, brand new leads, brand new names, more swings, more opportunities, more people that haven't had me calling them over and over and over and over again. That's what it takes. So when it comes to consistent lead buying, well, at the end of the day, you start to look at some of the people who are the most consistent producers. And you'll also, if we could run a report of when people buy leads and how often, it would fully correlate to how much business they write on a weekly basis. If you were to look at those two things, if you look at someone who buys leads every 3 weeks, you'll notice that their production is also pretty sporadic. They throw one up every now and then, but it's not consistent. So the big thing here, number one, is consistent lead buying. But number two, it's also like consistently getting a return on your leads. So return on investment. If I'm spending $1,000 I want to make back 4 to 5. That's just me personally. Now, not everybody has those kind of numbers starting out. Realistically, if I spend 1,000, I'd love to make 10. And there's days that happens, but there's also days that it doesn't. But 4 to 5 is like a good, healthy place to survive in this business. 4 to 5x my money, 4 to 5x my money. That's where you want to be. Anything above that is a bonus. But if you're just making your money back, just washing out, if you're maybe just doubling your money, you can't survive in the long run that way. It's not a profitable way to do business, because we're talking about consistent lead spend, 20 to 30% falls off the books, 20% for taxes. In my personal, I guess journey, half of what I make is mine. So I want to make 4 or 5 times what I spent so that I can keep half of what's left over. And obviously I'm being very conservative. Like I try to scare a lot of people with the numbers on purpose, because I want you to do better and save more and, just have more to invest into your business. So a lot of my numbers, are very conservative, but I want you to 4 to 5x what you do. 7 to 10x is when you really are rolling in this business. When you can take, a batch of 100 leads, you can book 15 appointments and you can close 6, 7 deals, and the average premium's 12, 1,500. That's a big deal to be able to do. That's an incredible skill set to have. But if you have a batch of 100 and you're not closing a single deal, that's a problem. There's something fundamental that's happening that we're missing. Batch of 100 leads, not closing a single deal. You can take any top producer and give me your beat up stack of leads. If I dial it hard enough, I'm getting one. There's a problem. So we need to break down and figure out what that problem is. We can reverse engineer it. Are you getting absolutely no appointments? Well, that's a problem. That means that we're really bad on the phones, or nobody's answering the phones. So a couple of things: either you're getting marked as spam, nobody's answering, so you don't have any opportunities. Like, we can break down the numbers. Like, of this batch of 100, how many times did you dial them? How many actually answered the phone? That's a big deal. Versus went straight to voicemail, disconnected number, whatever. Out of a batch of 100, how many answered the phone? Of the ones who answered the phone, how many of them hung up on you in the first 30 seconds? How many of them went through the entire thing and then booked an appointment? And we start looking at those numbers, and I've talked to some agents, and they're like, man, these leads, they suck. And I'm like, okay, how many did you call? Well, I called all 100. How many of them answered? 30. I'm like, dude, those numbers are great. You have 30 people answer. Good for you. Because if you have 30 people answer, like, you should be booking like 40, 50% of that. If you have 30 people answer, like, that's a really, really big deal. Like, I'd like to book half of what answers the phone. I'd say that's a healthy number as well, to know that you're doing a good job on the phones. So if I have 30 answers and I book nobody, that's not the lead's fault, because the lead answered the phone. That's a good lead. It's your fault because you did something to make them hang up the phone. That's a great batch of leads if that many people answer. So just keep that in perspective. We can kind of reverse engineer and go, okay, well, why are they hanging up? When are they hanging up? Oh, they hang up in the first 30 seconds. You're not strong enough in your open. You sound like a telemarketer. Oh, yeah, give me your pitch right now. Go. And we start to figure out where people are hanging up on you. Hey, I 30 people did answer, and I did book 15 appointments, but they were all no-shows. Also a different fundamental problem. So, like, we have to break down and figure out, where are people falling through the cracks? That's like one of the major basics that you can learn, is like, you have this pipeline, and like the goal is to get from like this side of the pipeline to this side of the pipeline. Like, there's leaks in your pipeline. Where are the people falling out? Are they falling out, in the beginning of the pipeline? Are they falling out somewhere in the middle? Like, we need to figure that out. And we need to patch that crack so that it doesn't continue to happen, so that every time that you buy a batch of leads, you're not wasting them. That's a big thing. So, like, again, some people say the solution to everything is to spend more money. Spend more money, get more leads. That is only the solution once you've proven you can sell insurance consistently. That's the solution to make more money. That's the solution to multiply your production. It's not the solution to start learning how to sell insurance. Yeah, of course, if you've been working the same batch of leads for 3 months, the solution: spend a little bit more money, quit being so stingy, get another batch of leads. But if you come into this business and you buy $2,000 worth of leads and you get your butt kicked, the solution is not to buy another $2,000 worth of leads. I just want to make sure that's super clear. That's not going to help you do better on the next batch. It's figuring out what's happening on the first batch, maybe toning it back, go buy yourself some dollar leads, some $3 leads, whatever that is, figuring out where you're struggling, where your weak point is, get good at crushing the older leads. And then when you go to buy the newer leads again, like you actually have a fair shot. You actually have a fair shot to return your investment because you've gotten better. Like those are the things that we can control. We can't control, how many people answer the phone all the time, but we can control if we're deciding to get better and obviously improving our return on investment. Talk to agents who, they're only returning, 2-3 times, and then you make a little tweak and you help them get 4, 5, 6 times. They're spending the same amount of money and they're now getting a better return on their investment. And then I go, okay, hey, you're spending $500 a week. Now that you've figured out how to go from, spend $1, make $2 to spend $1, make $5, let's go from $500 a week to $1,000 a week. And now, it's going to go from they were spending $500 and they learned how to 5X it and turn it into $2,500 to they're spending $1,000 and learning to turn it into $5,000. Like now the solution of spend more money makes sense. And then if you couple that with getting better, then it goes to 6, 7X, 8 times in your money. And now it just gets better and better and better. And that's where it's pour gasoline on the fire, spend more money, get more production, get more appointments. But like, we got to make sure the fundamental issue is taken care of first. Can you sell insurance? Can you book an appointment? Can you get people to stop hanging up on you in the first 30 seconds? Like, can you do some of those basic skills? Like that's what we're calling this back to basics. Like, can you consistently buy leads? Can you consistently get people to not hang up on you in the first 30 seconds? Like, even if people are telling you no, like the skill set of just keeping them on the phone past those first 3 sentences. Like, do you have the skill set to be like, I'll have you on the phone in 30 seconds, just like keeping them on there, keep them on the line. And like, even if they hang up on you, got it. But like, did they stay on the phone longer than the last person? Great. There's been some progress that was made. You learn, like taking somebody who wants to get off the phone and keeping them on the phone. I got people, I'm at work right now, I'm busy. All right, have you off the phone in 30 seconds. And then they're on the phone for 5 more minutes when they had to go. And then you book the appointment. Like learning that skill set to keep people on the phone is a really, really big deal. Last couple of things here and we'll let y'all go. I think resourcefulness is a really, really big thing. The goal is to move from the dependent stage to the independent stage as quickly as possible. And that's kind of, not becoming a full-on master of the basics, but like becoming proficient at the basics is how you're going to move from dependent to independent. Being dependent kind of sucks. I'm dependent on someone to answer my underwriting questions. I'm dependent on somebody to do this, dependent on someone to do that. Independent's fun. Independent's like, dude, it doesn't matter if there's 30 people on live dials or there's 3 people on live dials. I'm making money today because I got a batch of leads. That's what independent feels like. Independent didn't start independent. They started dependent. They learned everything they needed to learn. They were dependent on someone else. They also didn't wait for that person to reach out to them to teach them everything. They said, like, they're going to figure it out. They're going to find somebody who's going to teach them. They're going to continue to ask and ask and ask and ask until they get what they're looking for. So like dependent to independent. And then you go from independent to dependent on is like when you become the master of the basics, where now you know it so well that you can teach it to other people. And that's where you can start recruiting and start building a team. And that's when people do start recruiting and building a team, is when they go, oh, wow, I'm crushing it selling insurance. Maybe I could teach my friend how to sell insurance too. You don't necessarily have to wait for that, because you can plug those people into our system with somebody else, who is doing it. So you don't have to wait to be at that point, but that's how most people are. I didn't want to start recruiting until I felt like I was good at this. You don't have to do that, but that's just how I felt. That's the honest truth. So, learning to be resourceful, learning to move into, the independent stage. Resourceful is a big deal. Resourceful is like, are you hitting up your manager to be like, hey, Josh, where's the quote tool? Or are you like, okay, that's probably pretty simple. I can probably find that. Okay. Do you, when you got started, you go through boot camp and we talk about like, hey, save this resource, save that resource. Are you doing that? Are you checking the tools first? Are you going and watching like, hey, I have a question on this. There's a video on that in boot camp, like going back and rewatching that video to get that piece of information, or are you quick to just like ask somebody to give you the information? Like, this is where you get stuck at dependent and can't move on to independent, is because like you're dependent on a person. Like, we can be people dependent or we can be system dependent. Like, that's something we learned back in the day in network marketing. Like, if you're people dependent, like, what if I'm not available? What if Sean's not available? What if Josh is available? If you're people dependent, you're screwed. But if you're system dependent, you go, okay, crap, Sean's not available. Let me go to the underwriting genie in Slack and they'll tell me. That's system dependent. Oh, so-and-so's not available. I can't find this. Well, let me just go back to that video and maybe they explain it in there. Like, that's being system dependent. So like a lot of the times, a lot of people, they don't like this because they just want the answer. They go, hey, Jamie, this and this. And I go, it's in this video. They go, can't you just tell me? No, it's in the video. I could tell you, but if it's in the video, then you stop being dependent on me and you start being dependent on the system, because you go, okay, well, I want to recruit a team. I want to build something. Well, can you explain everything? Can you answer all those questions? Probably not. Well, if you don't want that to hold you back from building something, if you get good at finding the resources and the tools, then you'll get really good at pointing your teammates towards the resources and the tools. So then, we used to have this really, cheesy saying in network marketing. We say, don't be a tool, use the tools. Like, that's a fact. Like, just point people towards the tools, point them towards the resources. Hey, it's in there. It's in there. It's in there. And the ones who are hungry and the ones who are teachable and coachable will find it. And of course, you're going to get, the individual mentorship, the conversations you can't find in the videos, all that stuff. But like, that comes from like people who've already like plugged in, know the resources. We're speaking the same common language because I know you've been through boot camp, and I can tell by the way that you're communicating with me if you've watched the videos. So that's a big deal, becoming resourceful. And then, as always, I always talk about just treating this like a business. Treating like a business versus treating like a hobby. If you treat it like a hobby, you're just like, oh, maybe if I get good at it, that'd be cool. But if I treat it like a business, like golf, I suck at golf, but if I play a couple times in a week, then I start to improve. If I were to golf every day, I might get good. I'm never going to golf every day, so I probably won't ever get good. But like, same thing, if I treated insurance like I treat golf, and like, hey, this is my first time out since last year. Like, if I treat insurance like I treat golf, I'd be horrible at selling insurance. The reason I've gotten good at selling insurance is I treat it like the people who play golf every single day, doing it over and over and over and over again. I'm treating it like a business. I'm treating it like I'm training for something, like someone who's training for, an athletic event. Like, I treat insurance like I'm training for an Ironman, but with insurance. So that's kind of how you have to, think about it, treating like a business. You're talking about like wanting to get paid. We always say, if you want to get paid doctor money, lawyer money, engineer money, which you can, there are so many people in FFL that are getting paid doctor, lawyer, engineer money. But I want to put in McDonald's part-time fast food hours. Like, where does that add up? It doesn't. Like, there's so many principles just in life and in business where that doesn't make sense. Like, we don't just make something, or make doctor money for doing nothing. Like, how many years did a doctor go to school, a lawyer go to school, an engineer go to school? How many hours did they put in unpaid to be able to earn $500K a year, $150K a year? How many hours did they put in? So like, where do we have the audacity to think I can make doctor money on McDonald's hours? Like, it boggles my mind when people think that, because they see, well, so-and-so, he's helping 10 families a week. Well, so-and-so is putting in doctor hours. So-and-so is putting in engineer hours, lawyer hours. That's why they're making that. Like, this whole like get rich quick thing, like, this ain't one of those. You can get rich, but it ain't going to be quick. I mean, it could be quick, but not without the hours. Like, it could be relatively quick. You could have an amazing first year. You could have an amazing first month. But like, the hour, like, it's not going to take you 12 years to make $500K in a year. You could do it in a year, but you're going to have to put in 40, 50, more than 40, 60, 70, 80 hours a week to do it. So you have to treat it like a business. Treat it like a hobby, get paid like a hobby, treat it like a business, get paid like a business. So I appreciate you guys. We still got live dials. It's still early. I'm still going to be on here for a couple of hours. It's only 6 o'clock over here on the East Coast, and it's 3 o'clock on the West Coast. If you guys need anything, please reach out. Again, appreciate your patience as we've worked on some of these new tools and resources. I promise, it's going to be worth the wait. It's going to help all of you guys multiply what you're putting into leads and getting out without even getting better. But if you get better, it'll multiply even more. So I appreciate you guys. Hope everyone has an amazing night, and we will talk to you next time.